Alright, so this is a scope that I've been looking forward to doing the review on for a little while now. This is the same scope. This is the Hi-Lux Top Angle. It is the same scope that you guys have seen on my 7 SOM here throughout the last 2 matches that I've shot. As a matter of fact, both those match videos, if you look, you'll be able to see that this is the scope that I'm shooting. And it performed absolutely flawlessly through both those matches. As a matter of fact, I won F Practical in both those matches. With the Hi-Lux Top Angle, which was a significant amount lower priced than a lot of the other scopes that I'm competing against. If you pay attention to competition scopes, probably the most prevalent and most sought after competition F-class Benchrest scope that you're going to find is the Night Force competition. And if you look, this has a very similar profile to the Night Force competition. Very long scope, 30 millimeter main tube. This is a 7 to 30 power magnification, so it doesn't have quite that super high magnification that a lot of the other competition scopes you might run across have. And it is a 50 millimeter objective, so it has the 30 millimeter or the 30 magnification is plenty to be able to zoom in at that 1,000-yard range and play shots exactly where you want them to. So this thing does have ED glass, so as a matter of fact, this is the same ED glass with the same diamond tough coatings that the Hi-Lux Pentalux that I reviewed not too long ago has. That's the same scope that I used for the 1,000-yard egg challenge, and in that video I was able to, not the 1,000-yard egg, the 1,000-yard golf ball challenge. In that video I had no problem zooming in on a golf ball at 1,000 yards and placing rounds on that thing with no issues, with only 20 power magnification in the Pentalux. So this has 30 power, so a significant amount more. This is a second focal plane scope. Now, you may be saying, second focal plane, why are you using a second focal plane for long range shooting? As a matter of fact, I posted the tracking test of this recently, and in that tracking test, or in the comments of that tracking test video, there was somebody who commented, "That's second focal plane. Why would you even bother doing a review on a second focal plane scope for long range shooting?" And that was just somebody who just didn't understand some of the benefits of a second focal plane for long range shooting. As a matter of fact, most of the competition scopes that you're going to come across for F-class or Benchrest are going to be second focal plane. Reason being, or the main reason that people use second focal plane in those types of competitions, is that you can crank the magnification all the way up and the reticle never grows in size. So you can still, typically they're going to have a very fine aiming point, so really fine crosshairs, really small dot, whatever the absolute aiming point is in your reticle for your competition scope is going to be a very fine reticle. And with second focal plane, you can crank that magnification all the way up, and that reticle will never grow in size. So even with the maximum amount of magnification, you still have a very fine, very precise point of aim to use. So it gives you a smaller crosshairs or smaller dot to really pinpoint your point of aim. So that is the main reason why second focal plane is the dominant type of optics used in F-class or Benchrest competitions. But this being second focal plane, like I said, this thing has some features that allow it to be used as a tactical style scope as well, and that's what we're going to get into first here. So this is an MOA scope, MOA reticle. There is 15 minutes of holdover in the reticle, windage wise and elevation wise. And 90 minutes of elevation on the turrets. These turrets are very nice and crisp. I wouldn't call them extremely crisp, extremely audible, but they are definitely crisp. They're definitely not mushy at all. And there is, like I said, 90 minutes of total travel in the elevation turret, and I think there's 60 in the windage turret. What they have done to make this thing very useful for any type of long-range shooting is, even though it is second focal plane, they have went and put here next to your magnification ring, or on your magnification ring. First off, you have on the magnification ring you have it numbered to tell you exactly what magnification you're at whatever point or wherever you're at. But beyond that, they have went and put numbers underneath that tell you how true your reticle is. So At 28 magnification, this reticle is true. By true, I mean the subtensions match up to the numbers in the reticle. So at 28 power, you are exactly trued in your magnification. I'm sorry, exactly trued in your reticle. So if you're holding 1 MOA and you have this thing set on 28 power, you are holding exactly 1 MOA downrange. That is where the reticle matches up to its actual numbers. Say you want to have double the amount of holdover, and you could take this magnification down to 14 power to double. So each one of those subtensions double, so 1 MOA becomes 2 MOA, and they have actually given you a cheat sheet right here. So when you are at 28, you are number 10. When you are at 14, you can just look down, you are on number 5. That means you are half of the magnification, meaning you have doubled the subtensions in your reticle, and so on and so forth. You go down to 7, now you are on 2.5, meaning you have quadrupled the amount of subtensions in your reticle. So it's a very slick little setup that they've done to allow this thing to be used for not just F-class or Benchrest competition, but also be able to very quickly identify what your subtensions are and appropriately make the right holdover call. I really like that. It's the first competition optic like that I've personally come across that has that particular feature. Another thing that they have done with this, with the numbers here, the extra numbers here on your magnification ring, not only do they tell you where your reticle is trued at, and then what your subtensions are at whatever magnification range, those numbers also correspond to there is a ranging reticle up in the top right corner of your reticle. There is a small portion that gives you ranging dimensions. And in those ranging dimensions, if you have a known size target, so say you have an 18-inch target downrange and you want to know how far away that thing is, you line that thing up in your ranging reticle, and then you just dial the magnification down until you have that 18-inch target lined up perfectly into the 18-inch wide measurement on your ranging reticle. Then you take whatever number you are at, so say it is number 8 on here, that the ranging reticle lines up with an 18-inch in the ranging reticle to the 18-inch wide target. At that point, you just take the 8 that you're on, multiply that by 100, and that is your yardage. So very slick little setup. It is, a matter of fact, the same setup that they use for their Leatherwood optic setup. They have that ranging feature with all their Leatherwood optics, which is really neat. It's the first time I've ever come across anything like that. So there's so much packed into this magnification ring that allows you to turn the magnification up, tell you where you are as far as your subtensions, and give you a ranging in yardage with just lining up the ranging reticle with the proper size target. So really a whole lot packed into just the magnification range, and that's how they have went about making it so that if not only a competition scope, this could be used for tactical shooting. One of the places I think where this would really come in handy is some sort of sniper match where you have to range all your targets by taking measurements. You're not given known distances, you're just given known measurements of the target size. This reticle would come in extremely handy and probably give you an advantage in something like that, allowing you to quickly make a measurement and quickly figure out exactly what your range is to target. So that is a very slick little setup, and I'm really excited about that. I'm kind of excited to go out and use it and test it out. One thing I have not done with this yet is test that out, but I have no doubt that it works. Hi-Lux has been using this same setup in their Leatherwood optics for many years to great success. As a matter of fact, if you read the Hi-Lux story or the Leatherwood story on their website, it'll tell you a whole lot about this and how this came to be in the Vietnam War era. So, like we said, the turrets are very crisp, very tactile. They are not mushy at all. As a matter of fact, when you put it onto a certain click. There is no play in that, so it's very nice and firm. So you know exactly where you are in your dialing. This is a 1/4 MOA per click. If you guys saw the tracking test video we did, this is not standard MOA. This is shooter MOA. So this matches up to 1 inch per every 4 clicks. So this is shooter MOA is 1 inch at 100 yards, whereas standard MOA is 1.047 inches at 100 yards. So there is a very slight bit of difference, and with your ballistic app or your data sheets, you need to make sure and write that down or enter that into your data sheet that it is 1 inch or shooter MOA instead of standard MOA. But not a big deal, very easily to either select that function or write it down in your data books. The tracking, like we talked about the tracking with the turrets. If you guys saw the tracking test, this thing tracked at 98.5%. Extremely good tracking for the price that you're going to come across for this optic. Price point is just under $400. So you're getting all those features packed into a 30 power magnification scope with ED glass for only $400. And from what I have seen, I've looked and shopped around for competition scopes for quite some time. There are none of them that have as good a glass as this that are going to cost you $400. You're going to spend a significant amount more than that on a good competition scope for F-class or Benchrest. As a matter of fact, I have a scope that has nowhere near the features of this, nowhere near the magnification. It is a mid-range F-class style of scope that costs almost 3 times this much. So this is a steal for the money, and for it to be that price point and still track true is just another testament to this optic. Like I said, really excited about this thing. Really was impressed by all the things that they have packed into this thing for a competition scope. The parallax adjustment. This is the reason they call it the top angle. The parallax adjustment typically on scopes, as you guys would know, is just off of the left side. Most tactical scopes have the parallax. Also, a lot of the competition scopes have the parallax off of the left side. This scope has it at a top 45-degree angle instead of being off the left side. That has a couple of benefits. It allows a right-handed or left-handed shooter to easily, without taking their eye off the optic, be able to adjust their parallax. Another thing that they've done with this parallax that is something I was really happy about, really excited to see, is that they have given this parallax that you can true up to out to 1,000 yards, and then you have the infinity setting. From my testing, it seems like you can true this thing up and line everything up out to about 1,150 yards, meaning that even though 1,000 is your last number, somewhere between 1,000 and infinity, you can still line everything up and set your parallax perfectly so that there is no movement in the reticle that shows up on the target. So just like we did, if you guys saw the video we did a while back on, the video said I was wrong. I always thought that even with perfect parallax, you had to maintain the same cheek weld throughout the entire string of shots to not have any deviation in your optics and make sure your crosshairs weren't moving slightly off of target. And I found out that was not the case because I was able to really move my head all over the place once I had the parallax set absolutely perfectly, and be able to still shoot a very nice tight group that all grouped to the same point of aim as they did when I just stayed with my cheek weld never moving. So this allows you to, like, say you're planning on shooting a 1,000 yard comp. This gives you the ability to set your parallax exactly at 1,000 yards so that you know that your magnification or your reticle is set on 1,000 yards. So no matter where you place your eye behind this optic, your scope, your crosshairs, as long as they are in the same point of aim, are going to be set up on that point of aim instead of slightly moving because your parallax is not able to be trued and set to that certain distance. So that was another feature. Most scopes, especially tactical scopes, do not have the ability to give you a perfect parallax out to 1,000 yards, whereas this gives you the ability to do it beyond 1,000 yards. So that was something that I was really impressed with, and another thing that they just thought about and putting into this scope to make it absolutely an awesome competition scope. The diopter on this scope, just like the Pentalux, this has the same exact diopter dial. It has a ton of adjustment. The Pentalux, I ran into a day where I forgot I wear contacts, and I forgot to put my contacts in before I went out to shoot. And typically, when I do that, it is so hard for me to get a clear picture of the reticle. This had so much adjustment in it that I was able to, with no problem at all, adjust this thing with all that adjustment and dial it in to my eye, even with no contact, and get a perfectly clear reticle and perfect picture downrange. So another feature that they have put into this, that's obviously a feature that they use and have had great success with, and it is no different here in the top angle. This thing comes with obviously scope. This thing comes with scope caps, and it has capped turrets. So if you are at 1,000-yard comp, you feel like you have everything set perfectly, you can set your turrets, put the caps on, and not have to worry about anything bumping or touching your turrets to throw them off. It is not, obviously, they're not locking turrets because they are capped, and this does not have a zero stop. So that is one thing you're going to have to make sure you know where you're at in your revolutions. But this isn't a scope typically that you're going to be making a lot of adjustments with and could get off a full rev in your adjustments. So I don't think a zero stop is necessarily necessary for this optic. Like I said, this thing is about a $400 optic. If you guys are looking to buy the Hi-Lux Top Angle here, go to Hi-Lux's website, use the code GUNFATHER5, all capitals, and you can get 5% off of not only the Hi-Lux Top Angle, but any of their modern rifle scopes. So by modern rifle scopes, I mean none of their old reproduction scopes that they make also. Hi-Lux is known for a lot of their old reproduction scopes, but any of their modern rifle scopes, you use that code GUNFATHER5, you can get 5% off your total purchase. Also, one thing I didn't mention, this thing, the eye relief. One of my small critiques of the Pentalux is it only had a 3.5-inch eye relief. I particularly prefer a 4-inch eye relief, which this has. This has that full 4 inches of eye relief, so I have no issues in setting my head way back here onto the buttstock and having perfect, no scope shadow, no anything, with being able to have my eye plenty far away from the optic. So this is the Hi-Lux Top Angle. Like I said, a great value, a ton of features. One of the things I didn't mention, this does have an illuminated reticle for if you decided to do some sort of tactical style shooting with it, or late night shooting, or in the dark or dusk. So there is a ton of features packed into this thing for a very reasonable price. I'm really impressed with this. Really would not have expected to get all the features that I've gotten out of this for the price point that this thing comes in at. So hope you guys enjoy this. I hope if you guys are looking for a new competition scope, a new all-around scope, you guys might want to take a look at the Hi-Lux Top Angle, because this thing absolutely does it all, as well as has the awesome ranging feature, which allows you to quickly acquire range to target faster than probably most any other system I've ever come across. So hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you guys next time. I'm out.